Okay, so with the release of Batman Unburied on Spotify, I was asked to look back over DC's long and rich history and discuss one of my favourite scenes involving their plethora of characters. When talking about moments that blew me away, one of the first things that came to mind is the scene in which we get a full origin story for Cyborg in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's masterfully done, and for me it was one of the standout moments in the movie. Just in the same way that Snyder managed to introduce Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen perfectly, this scene gave us a complete rundown of everything that the character stood for. Not only did it go over the death of his mother, but it also showcased the strain of his relationship with his father, his powers, and a lot more. Now with Dr. Manhattan, we watched his relationship develop with Janie Slater before it eventually fell apart. We learn about the character's detachment from humanity over the course of this scene, but with Cyborg, Snyder did the opposite. He showed us the character's humanity and how he was a hero in more ways than just hitting bad guys, as the character helped a struggling waitress who was living paycheck to paycheck. We're going to be breaking it all down in just a bit, but first, if you could just give me 80 seconds of your time to talk about our sponsors Batman Unburied. Now at the channel, we love DC. That's why we've teamed up with Batman Unburied, a new podcast audio series to keep you warm on those cold dark nights. Batman Unburied is a new show streaming exclusively on Spotify that takes the Cape Crusader to a lot of unexplored territory that you can listen to any time of day until the nightfall. Whether you've had your Bill finger on the pulse since he was first created, or you're going through a rebirth with the character, this is an amazing story for newcomers and old fans who want to get to know a lot more about the character. The 10 episodes offer a fresh take on Gotham's most famous hero, and though pretty much every iteration so far has painted Bruce the Billionaire out in quite a lot of detail, here we see a different side of him. In Unburied, Bruce is an ordinary citizen, and we've got to work together with the world's greatest detective to get to the bottom of his mental and physical imprisonment. Gonna stop there with the spoilers, as I want you to enjoy it as much as I am, but I definitely recommend that you go check it out right now. The link is in the description, along with a poll. That's a bit of fun for Batman fans out there. Riddle me this. According to DC Comics Encyclopedia, how tall is Batman? Make sure you go answer, and don't forget to check out the show, which is streaming on Spotify right now. Gonna disappear like Batman? So, what's that over there? Look over there. I'm gone. Okay, so the release of Zack Snyders Justice League felt like the culmination of a redemption story that was years in the making. After the release of 2017's Justice League, a fan movement rallied behind the original version of the film in an attempt to get Snyder's true vision released. The 4-hour epic dropped in 2021, and it very much felt like a tale of redemption both on and off screen. Not only was there Snyder, who finally got his work shown to the masses, but also Ray Fisher, who received somewhat validation after his part was massively cut down for the theatrical release in 2017. I've always been a big fan of Cyborg, and I find the inner turmoil that he deals with absolutely fascinating. Not knowing whether he's more machine than man has led to lots of conflicts in the comics, and in the New 52 we even had an arc where a sentient virus called Grid came forth from him, ushering in a major villain for the Forever Evil storyline. However, what we got in the theatrical cut was a pretty neutered version of the character that did very little in the movie beyond connecting with the mother box and spouting catchphrases. Fisher talked openly about his treatment in the final cut, and the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League very much showcased how talented of an actor he was, along with how integral Cyborg was to the storyline. From someone who is pretty much a backbencher in the theatrical cut, Snyder's version gave us one of the most powerful members of the team, along with what I think is the true heart of the movie. Torn between wanting to have his humanity back and embracing his more mechanical mind state, we see Victor Stone as the college football star for Gotham University. A stellar athlete, we also learn that he hacked the IT systems in order to change the grades for a struggling student. We catch his mother arguing with the dean that his friend had no chance of passing her classes due to her home life, and that it's actually Victor who helped her when the school wouldn't. In the midst of this, we cut back and forth to a football game, shot in Snyder's signature sped up in slow motion style, just adding to the scene so much. I know Snyder gets ragged on a lot for using this technique, but it makes this one of the most epic touchdowns I've ever seen, especially with the snowdrops that cover the screen. The white beaming, almost star-like beacons contrast so beautifully against the black and yellow kit that Stone wears, and there's a real pop to the image, especially on the 4K HDR version. It's a big moment watching Stone score the touchdown that wins the game, and we cut to his mother in the stands cheering. However, this celebration is quickly cut short when we see that his father's seat is empty. Silas and Victor very much have a complicated relationship, which we learn about in the movie, and we discover that he was never really there for his son, instead focusing on his work. The things that meant the most to Victor weren't really that important to Silas, and this is followed by a devastating car crash in which he loses his mother and gets put in critical condition. Told by doctors that his son won't survive, Silas makes a desperate attempt to save his life, and he turns to a science he doesn't fully understand. Now, Joe Morton has dabbled with this kind of technology before, and it's inspired casting to bring him into this film when he starred as Miles Dyson in Terminator 2. Really nice little Easter egg there, and Silas ends up fusing his son with a mother box, which resurrects him. Victor absolutely hates this change, and it's clear that early on he feels like it's a curse that he can't escape from. There are languages in his head that he doesn't understand, a constant buzzing and connections to almost every electronic device on Earth. It really makes you question what you would do if the person you loved was at death's door, and I love how there's this duality in the scene. You have Silas who did whatever he could to try and save his son, and on the opposite side of this you get Victor, who very much doesn't want to be alive like this. Towards the end of the film, he's even tempted with being with his family once more, and gaining somewhat normality inside the mother box. Though this is an illusion, it's something that he could have easily have given into because that's what his heart desired. At the channel, we often talk about how in order to be a hero, that one has to sacrifice what they want, and Victor making this choice at the end brings the arc setup here full circle. Now, just in the same way we question whether he would bring someone back from the brink if it doomed them to a half-life, we also put ourselves in Victor's shoes. We discover that he has unlimited power in the world of ones and zeros, and that almost everything is now under his control. This includes the stock market, currency, weapons, cars, Tamagotchis, bank accounts, your Tinder profile, and it all rests in his hands. Joe Morton has created Skynet again, and you didn't listen. You bloody didn't listen. However, what makes Victor different from the Ultron-esque AI is that Victor still has his humanity. This is demonstrated perfectly in the simulation that he creates in his mind. This is very CGI heavy, full of objects like missiles, stacks of cash, temples, metaphors of the stock exchange to the classic bull and bear fighting, and lots of things that make it seem like he's very isolated from humanity. However, the scene then evolves in a Victor coming across CCTV footage of a woman struggling at her job as a waitress. Amongst the mountains of money, we see her barely scraping by, but she still leaves money behind for a homeless man and his dog. Snyder expertly tells us her story across a couple of clips, including her family life. Now, though it's not spelled out, she very much also represents the mother that Victor lost. There's no father figure in the kids' lives, and Victor probably sees some similarities between his own childhood and the ones that she's raising. Evicted from her home, Victor then ends up increasing the money in her account. Very much makes him godlike, choosing to influence the fortune of those that live their lives in a positive way, and this idea of him affecting luck is even brought across to the new balance in her account being reflected in a customer price. It perfectly hammers home exactly who Cyborg is and how it's possible to be a hero in other ways than just beating up bad guys. However, even though he's carried out this amazing deed, he's still viewed as a monster, and this is very much shown when he walks past the couple who stand back in horror upon seeing him. No good deed goes unpunished, and it's a bittersweet way to end the moment that shows us Cyborg still has to hide who he is. It very much sets up the public reaction to him and why he feels like a monster inside. Now, his father Silas sadly sacrifices himself so that his son has a way to track the mother box down, and we see Victor reaching out with his hand to stop this, much like how he did when his mother was hit by a car. Cyborg definitely goes through the most losses in the movie as both of his parents die, and he's left alone in the world without their guidance. That's why the temptation at the end of the film is so endearing, and after Flash runs back in time, he's transported inside the mother box, which is where he comes face to face with them amongst the nightmare hellscape of a world taken over by Darkseid. They promise to make him whole again and say that he'll never be alone, but Vic responds with this.
I'm not broken. And I'm not alone.
It finally shows acceptance for what's happened, as well as the fact that he's found kinship amongst the rest of the League. Once an outcast that was feared, he's now found self-acceptance and also a new family to be a part of. It really brings everything full circle and makes for some amazing character growth that plants him as the heart of the movie. To me, it's the perfect way to introduce the character while setting up what he ends up becoming at the end of the film, and I absolutely love this scene. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, so make sure you comment below and let me know. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out Project Justice League, which will be linked on screen right now. It's from our friends over at the 4Nerds Network, and it kinda goes over the original plans for the Justice League sequels. Really nice fan-made series, so definitely go head over there right after this. With that out of the way, thanks for sticking through the video. I'm Paul, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, peace.